Daredevil Season 2 is over. And there's a lot of things you can say about Disney, their streaming services, what they've done to Star Wars. A lot, honestly. But one thing that I have to speak of is simply things are different right about now. Things in a very realistic sense have been shifting and are currently shifting as I speak. And I can only imagine from my own personal experiences that most Americans are very tired of having to deal with these, let's call them, waves of distortions. So you start seeing online how the Daredevil viewerships hits like a skyrockets downward, or it drops, or people talking about how maybe this isn't what everyone wanted it to be, quote unquote. And it checks out, right? The reason, hypothetically, that we go out of our way to set aside time / go out to a theater and go watch something / sit down, crack open a book or a cold one and talk to your mates, that we do this as a form of escapism, right? Now that's a loaded word because anything of a good thing, too much of a good thing can become a bad thing at any point. But a sense of escapism to sort of reflect upon our real life moments and maybe even take a step back, or maybe even learn something that will help us in these coming moments or these future circumstances that these films, these directors, these writers, these people that have gone through life and its experiences are able to write down what that feels like and plaster that on whatever piece of storytelling device you most like to consume. I.e., we like it when Superman goes around saving people. We think it's kind of badass when, Better Call Saul goes around and beating up people for press. And all that, it's comes from a place, from a different time, where we had different people giving different examples of how to navigate this landscape called life. I like to think about Spider-Man. Spider-Man ended up becoming super popular because deep inside that secret identity, he was just an average New Yorker man by the name of Peter Parker. And people attached to that, people were able to relate to a high schooler, a college student, a broke-ass student, a kid from the Queens, and all this sort of things that were pit against Peter Parker ended up making him that underdog that people would soon come to praise his name, right? Praise his name. And that's not a coincidence in my brain. So then the question becomes, what value, why did these people, those people in the past who spent years drawing and writing comics, what sort of morals, what sort of messages, what hope did they place in our minds when all this story started happening, when all their characters were created from an original point of desire, whether that be for a reality not yet seen, or a justice that just was right beyond our reach. And it all boils down to that. Because when we think about a superhero, we like to think about the abilities, the powers, the power fantasy to some. But for now, what we know of so far, in the end of the day, that is just spectacle and fantasy. Fantastic adventure, what? Yeah, whatever he calls them, fantastical comics or. And there is credit, there is a positive to learning from these imaginative stories, because they help us see things in a different dimension and help us try to give examples, theoreticals of how we would respond to that, how a nation, a public group might have to reflect on what is happening in their own government/house. And that's where Daredevil steps in. We don't usually talk about the heroes that are, not flying up in the sky, that aren't, causing thunder waves every time they land. At least when we look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? We've dedicated a better portion of a decade, 2 decades, to basically glazing the man that built a robot from scraps in the cave, a suit of armor from scraps in the cave. And while there is something astonishing fantasy, astonishing there to really learn from or to be inspired from, in no universe currently do I really believe that someone is gonna start sprouting hawk-like wings and have to call himself Hawkman. It could happen, that's a medical thing, but we're not there yet. So when we look at these quote-unquote average heroes, your everyday street-level heroes, one that Spider-Man is very well associated with, i.e. friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and something that most say, something like an Iron Man or a Captain America, whose jurisdiction falls way beyond something like a city of Queens, or something like the city of New York, or something like a governorial position. Sure. And that's one of the questions. That's one of the questions start happening, that when these things that are happening to a minuscule level that we're looking at from a fantastical perspective, but then we reflect our own reality and we go, wait a minute, this all looks way too familiar. That's probably the tightest line to walk. Because you have something that is so close to the nose, and it's almost the responsibility. The responsibility of knowing that in this moment, while you are addressing things that are actually happening, sure, you're sugarcoating it with a scenario caused by comic book heroes, but you can directly reflect on what is happening there and what is happening here. And naturally, coming from a publication like Disney, there was a lot there's many points, there's many moments in this story where I really believe that somebody might say something, or something might get in the way of something, or people would start interrupting a narrative, the narrative that we were planning, or what have you be. Really early from the season, we were introduced to a lot of the legislative side of the universe. And that is something that directly should appeal to us, the citizens of a government. And maybe not ironically, I don't believe in similarity or superstition or whatever. The fact that I was able to experience on a first-hand how the justice system works, the steps, the procedures, the involvement, what it takes, what each person's responsibility in that courtroom is, and to be able to learn from that from a real world experience, to then be implemented into this scenario, really inspired me. Let's just say that. But I understood from a deep core perspective that a lot of people would look at this and be like, whoa, why are we wasting time? Oh, why are we getting political? Oh, where is the fighting? Where are the punches? Oh, and that was my biggest fear. My biggest fear throughout the series is that it really felt like they had an opportunity to say something, and that they wanted to say something, but somewhere down the line, I was fearful, basically, that there was going to be a higher up or higher power out there that would forcibly cause the writers or the people working on this, the showrunners, to shift things in more of a, let's call it, appealing limelight. And now we won't ever know if what talks happened behind the scenes, or what wording was made and what was changed or not, but the fact that you can take a property that is very well, it deserves its place in the judicial system. We've spent years with Matt Murdock, and we've seen him do his logistic stuff. This beginning of the season had a great presentation of what that was like for him, even more than before, I would say. And it feels dumb to say, but and almost ironic, but who else in the comic scenario would have the right to talk about law, justice, and its system than the superhero that doubles as a lawyer? That in that coincidences, it's like when the Hulk picks up the moment and he goes like, oh, it's like I was built for this. And yeah, ironic as it may seem, as coincidental as it may seem, the fact that we got a really interesting, impactful, strong conclusion to a fight between two ideals that did not involve directly a physical altercation. And the fact that they were able to pull all of that is impressive, damn it. I said from the beginning that I was liking the judicial side of things, but it was understandable why things had to completely change into more of a serious notes. Things get ramped up. We have circles within circles of people interacting within circles, and it gets good, a little confusing when you have everything working with the extra superheroes, or even just the police members, and while you're doing that, it's crazy to think that we've been doing this for maybe about 10 years. I'm trying to think about when the original Daredevil came out, but I would say about 10 plus years. Yeah. So to think that, you have these people coming through, everybody in the series that has had a moment, even unfortunately the people that are not around in the series, no spoilers for season 2 opening episode 1, but the fact that they are still able to bring around the messages that those people held, that they brought to the table, and having to have Matt, i.e. Daredevil, really carry the weight of those consciousness throughout the whole story to get to this point where it becomes less of a, hey, we're going to have this big finale duke out, and it really does become a Naruto talk no jutsu moment. But a Naruto talk no jutsu moment that really holds power, like the impact of those words that are spoken, I do believe go beyond just the TV show. And that's the thing. That is the thing. In a current timeline where the walls feel like they're closing in due to certain governments trying to enforce their will rather than to listen to the people, there is an ideal that is spreading and has been corrupting what we know as the government or as a constitution. And that sucks, right? We talk about that all the time. We talk about in News of the Week how the universe is changing. And we're here seeing how bad things can get, in the sense of this person who is not being taken seriously as a threat that they really are. And all these red flags that we have seen since season 1 when it comes to the Kingpin and his tendencies and the kind of person that he is, just the type of person that they carry themselves as, the way they talk, the way they act, the way they respond to insults, shows a lot about a character. And we have seen that character really indulge themselves in that disgust, that sort of disregard for common sense of the common people. So when Disney Plus can stick the landing, actually write a damn good lawyer piece, right? It's not all about law and government, but damn, they did a pretty good job of trying to work it all out and presenting you these key statements / items that help you bring it into the ending, where you can really give us an impactful scene that gives, in reality, gives power to the people. And that's where we'll leave off on, because it is impactful, it is powerful to see a whole city stand up to their government to really force a change for the people, to see your neighbors, to see your community gather together and in unison push for something that you know is for the future. It's inspiring, to say the least. Question is, did we ever get those people back that dropped off? I think it'll do fine. I believe it'll be all right. Daredevil, for all its purposes, for all that it's gone through, it's essentially been the golden horse of Netflix, which then was adopted by Disney in the merger, in the sales. But thankfully, and with some damn grace, I do feel that this character was done justice. Pun intended. And while it's not great to see where the story lies, i.e. where it quote unquote ends, you know, you want everyone that is fighting for good to have a good ending, at least that's what you would wish for. It is also fair and important that we show a consequence for the man that has given everything. Because that too in itself was a choice. And I don't know how spiritual, I don't know how judicial you want to get about it, but it's a tale as old as time. You trade a soul, a life for a soul, and that, what greater love is there than he who laid down his life? So, Daredevil, Season 2, has officially wrapped up. Certain people are not there, certain people have changed, and certain characters are gonna have future stakes, i.e. something as simple as the Punisher does not pop up in this at all. Okay? He is getting his own spin-off, I believe, next week. That's something I'm interested in. The question being is, how does this universe affect what happens in future universes? And if we're saying that Punisher is bumping into Spider-Man, then maybe we got a lot cooking. It's interesting. It's interesting. We're talking about the futuristic stuff now, but if we really have a Disney that actually believed in Daredevil, which they're now working on Season 3, but believes in Daredevil so much that they're essentially building the new cinematic universe around these scenarios, i.e. Kingpin now becoming this new person, thing, place, or idea, Daredevil being stuck in his own situation, Punisher out there doing his punishing stuff, and now you have a Spider-Man that will be swinging into theaters about very, very soon. I get curious because, again, we've been so focused on, whoa, this is an Avengers level threat, and the space stuff and all the universal things in what makes superheroes grand. Again, but maybe it might seem not cool to the normal universe, but I see Marvel and the story of taking heroes back to the streets. You know, when all the fucking D-Rump ICE raids were happening, and I was watching all these government sponsored, they're not official, but they were sponsored, assholes go around cities being dicks and essentially abducting people of color. I felt that, man. I felt that. That actually happened multiple times around our area. But then I saw a cute little video of a young guy. I don't even know what his name is anymore. Skyline, something like that. Check him out. This guy over from the east side, I'm not sure which state. I know he's from the east though. Essentially put on a suit, a superhero suit. And I seriously doubt this kid can fly. He's younger than I can tell just by his voice. And, you know, I'll just say it, he is a white kid. Whatever that means to you, that means to you. But he's out there. And he's just walking around, and I don't necessarily know what, he gave water bottle to the homeless people in Los Angeles. But the fact that in this time and age, we have someone with enough spunk to just on a random Tuesday go, fuck it, I'm gonna put on my super suit, I'm gonna be that guy. That inspiration comes from somewhere. And I know that there's a lot of people going through a lot of shit right now. And there's just so much that I could say about what happens or like what that means or what we should do or blah, 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 that it gets to a point where none of it matters because it's all just information. But at the very least, if we can get stories of people, right? Yes, heroes, but deep to their core, they're not mutants, they're not celestial beings, they're not gods, they're people. People just like you and me. People who can go out in the streets and really believe that they're gonna make a difference by just being a positive presence in their community. Again, you don't have to go around punching people just to be a good person. But if you're telling me there's people out there doing that, then I know things are pretty bad. But it's specifically that things are that bad that I see the possibility and the hope of people younger than I'll say it. I'm an old jaded motherfucker. That's not gonna change anytime soon. But the young ones, the next generation, that thing that Marvel was trying to sell us by slapping a fucking child next to every damn superhero, and now Grogu, Mandalorian Grogu. But it's not that hard. It's fairly simple, man. Maybe I'm blessed because, my sister was a dumbass and I was able to live with my nephews. So I was able to stop thinking about myself in this bubble and started analyzing how one generation influences the next one. And I've had about 15, 16 years of that. So at this point, I see things not for myself per se, but in the way that an action will ripple across time. And if we can inspire these generations, it could be my generation, right? I'm a millennial. It could be a next generation, it could be the other generation, doesn't matter. But as long as we're leaving the right stories, i.e. the right hope, the stories that will present a solution that doesn't have to be all end all. Then we can still try. We can still save this nation. And seeing how each character does their part in this final build-up climactic scene, from the old guard of the police that still believe in civilian protection to the newest generation of reporters who had to basically go undercover to get whatever information and to find a way to give that information back to the people. To the vigilante who had to bust ass just to give people another chance of inspiration. Say it takes a village to raise a child. And in Hell's Kitchen, that's one spicy baby. So, where do we go from here? I've presented my thoughts on Spider-Man and future Marvel stuff. But in reality, what really interests me is how we the people, we the younglings, we the geeks, the nerds, the anime weebs, those of us who are still paying attention to something positive if possible. How do we reflect on this? And where do we take our country, our government, our people? I was excited when Daredevil did court scenarios. I was excited when he was doing backflips and punching people and doing that sick hallway fight scene. Shit, I was super hyped when Fisk was learning how to box, because then that would mean that he's actually be a threat, and holy shit, he's a fucking threat. But when we started talking about the minorities, not just the minorities, but the people who are not heard, i.e. the minorities, you guys, regardless of what skin tone, regardless of what language, regardless of what food you eat. But a city's a city. And in the Big Apple, and hopefully in the city of love, we'll find our hero. I'm excited. We'll see. Unfortunately, I do believe that this show is now officially too hyped to. We've peaked. I believe we've peaked. I don't know. We're just gonna have to keep and wait and see. I really don't see how this doesn't ruffle certain feathers, and with everything that's been happening with the FCC and certain shows like Stephen Colbert being pulled off, i.e. getting fired, it's gonna be weird, man. Disney Plus is like on our list of people to not, believe in because of how they presented men and like how they fucked up Star Wars and how we'll see, man. But at the end of the day, Daredevil, Born Again season 2, finale. Series, not too shabby. Get yourself a nice cup of coffee, enjoy it. I do believe man. At the end of the day, that's just what I leave up on. My biggest question mark is if we did have that drop off in people, which I do believe it happens. It probably happened. But, now with this big wave of, say, people enjoying the finale, how many people actually come back to watch this? And how many people are just, done with reality? So, remember, elections are soon in America. So, if you have not registered to vote, please go vote. And for whomever you vote for, it's not our place to tell you what's right and wrong. But I would pray and ask that you vote for what you not only believe in, but what you have seen, what you have learned, and what you hope for. It's easy to believe in the promises of man and people. It's easy to get swayed by the positives of a party. But in reality, we should know better by now. I do believe we've seen maybe the worst in corruption, and it's very visible. But what bothers me the most is what is invisible, because that exists. The devil is real, and he lives in Hell's Kitchen. Let's just say. So, if you're lucky enough to be able to vote for your government, to be part of the there's a word, but I'm not thinking about it. Be part of the Constitution. Yeah, I know. And yeah, just share your opinion and try to believe in something positive for our future, man. At the end of the day, that's what we got. So let's try to make it work out, man. But hey, don't worry. You got Spider-Man coming up in the future. And that could do things. What things? I don't know. But hey, I'll be excited to find out with you all. So, if you like that, like this, and stick around. We're gonna do... I'm gonna skip the movies today. We'll watch Mortal Kombat tomorrow. We'll get our review Saturday morning. I am sick. I was gonna be super cool and do something fun yesterday, but I died. And now I'm just coming back around. So look forward to fun. Zenless. New season of Zenless is out. I'm gonna try to knock that one out today. I need to do gym stuff, so that's gonna be annoying. And we're hanging out with, there's a concert this weekend, I think. I'm doing some, oh, okay. 2 weeks. It's true. It's happening. Your boy said, now it's happening. Fan Fest nights at Universal's. Yes, Cerritos. I will be going there for the final freaking day. The last day I will be there. So, sounds like fun. If you're gonna be around, catch you over there. Let me know. We'll be partying. And we'll see. So there's things happening, and I just really need to organize life in a way where I'm not dying all the time. So if that sounds fun, and please stick around, subscrizzle, and I'll catch you in the future for Rizzle. But until then, thanks for watching. Ciao. Matane. Wanna come down.